Survivor is revisiting one of its best twists.
Blood versus water.
But this time, the show is making the game even more brutal.
We will have the loved ones showdown every episode with a major consequence on either side. The only way to win and be a hero is to beat your loved one and send them to exile. There's no escape.
With no returning players, it's a brand new cast this time. But there are a few familiar faces.
Tweety!
I played Major League Baseball for a number of years.
We'll introduce all 18 players who will compete against each other and their loved ones.
In this game, I want to get as far as I can.
We have such a strong social game that we can play that I think it's best if we're apart.
I know she could beat me in this game.
Plus, we'll tour this amazing tribal council, find out what former winner Parvati is doing on location, and it's your first look at 2 challenges you'll see this season. This is Survivor San Juan del Sur Blood vs. Water preview. Survivor is returning to the familiar shores of Nicaragua, repeating a theme that brought the show one of its most explosive seasons.
I think with the first Blood versus Water season, what we realized is, as risky as it seemed at the time, the payoff was the emotion between someone that you're either related to or have married into, or whatever that connection is, it just amps everything up. We're changing the creative up this time on Blood versus Water. We're keeping the premise the same, which is you bring a loved one out to play with you, but we're changing up the creative. Redemption Island is gone, so this time when you're voted out, you're out.
And this time around, Survivor is bringing the loved one's twist to a whole new level.
We will have the loved ones showdown every episode with a major consequence on either side. If you win, you are a hero because you single-handedly won reward for your tribe. And if you lose, you are going to exile. So the only way to win and be a hero is to beat your loved one and send them to exile. There's no escape. The plan is that every episode, at least until the merge, you will have these one-on-one hero duels. So a new loved one couple will go at it in the next episode. So everybody theoretically should get their shot, unless, of course, you get voted out before that time comes.
When contestants go to Exile Island, they will be faced with 2 urns. One has a clue to a hidden immunity idol. The other is empty.
You'll go out to exile with the other person, and the 2 of you will decide, do we tell anybody there's a clue, or do we keep it to ourselves? Then you have to go back to your camp and figure out how to find the idol without anybody noticing that you're digging up your entire camp. This season started with Day 0, which we did last time we did Blood versus Water. We sent all the couples, 9 couples, out into the jungle, and they each had a flint and steel. Several couples got fire going, some didn't. Then the next morning, they come in to see me, and this is when we divide them into 2 tribes. And no matter how prepared you are for that, and I know they were all prepared, they know it's blood versus water. They're going to play against each other. It's still hard to separate, and then we find the first twist of the game is you're going to be going up against your loved one. And the only way to impress upon your new tribe that you have any worth at all is by crushing the other. And I don't think either one of them wanted to lose, and I don't think either one of them wanted to beat the other one. And those were the stakes going into the first challenge.
And unlike the previous Blood vs. Water season, this time there are no returning players.
This group seems to have more of a sense of humor than we've had in the past. There was a lot of laughter when they first came and met me and we introduced everybody. Not everybody looks alike. There are definitely interesting looking people that come from different parts of the country that are going to play the game differently. Anybody can win. That's what I love. You're looking at 18 people going, who will it be? Because it could be any of you.
One pair of contestants will be very familiar to fans of another reality series.
Tweety!
Natalie and Nadiya are contestants that were on The Amazing Race. And they did so well, and they were so well liked, and they had so much personality. And we had had success before using Hayden from Big Brother. So we were open to the idea, we met them, and instantly loved them.
The twins ran 2 seasons of The Amazing Race. Their first time, they finished in 4th place. They returned for the All-Stars and were the first pair eliminated.
Natalie and Nadiya,
I'm sorry to tell you that you are last. And you have been eliminated from the race.
So our first season of Amazing Race was, we had the best experience, even though we didn't win. We went in the second time, we gotta win, like totally we just overanalyzed everything. We didn't go with our gut instincts.
I think what Nadiya and Natalie have going for them as players is experience. Even though Amazing Race is a different game, there are similarities. And out of the gate, I asked them a question, and their answer was very politically correct. That's a good trait. They know not to piss anybody off so early.
Everything that's going on in the Amazing Race is completely different here. And also the biggest change is that we're not doing this together. I can't rely on Nadi to have my back. I have to, you know, kind of makeshift a new 20 out there that I can trust.
They're great storytellers. They're nutty as can be. They talk all the time at the same time, and you never really know what they're gonna say. Their personalities are great at blending because they seem to be able to find a party wherever they are.
But I'm hoping if people recognize us, there's one of two things can happen. Either people are gonna be stoked about us being here and be like, they're good players, I wanna work with those bitches. Yeah. Or they're gonna be like, those bitches are crazy, get them off. Like, we're gonna scare them off. This is like taking away food, comfort, lodging, but the most important thing is they're taking away my 20 from me, which is I would give up all of that just to have Natalie with me. Totally. Oh my God, 20, it's so nice. Nobody's gonna pressure me into voting my sister off. And if I did it, it means I would be going all the way to the finish line and then the bank with the money.
I actually think that they could do okay in this game. They made a lot of jokes about being the only brown people.
I'll make people laugh, you know, I'll put on a comedy act every night. I don't care. Comedy hour, bye, brownies. Totally.
And I think being separated works to their advantage because together, they're too powerful and they're too much. They talk a lot and they're funny and they're loud. I would expect both of them to be around for a while.
My name is Jaclyn and
I'm John, and we are boyfriend and girlfriend.
We're both naturally really competitive, so I think that that's gonna come out a lot this season.
Yeah.
Me and pageants and him in football, we're just competitors.
We both want to win.
I entered my first pageant, Miss Michigan USA, and I won. And ever since then, I've been kind of pigeonholed into this beauty queen girl, and I mean, I love pageantry and what it did for me, but that's not who I am. So I think that Survivor is the complete opposite of that. I was born with MRKH syndrome, which basically means I was born without a uterus. I've never had a period, and I can't have my own children. So I joined with the foundation and was verbal about that all year.
Now, to see her talk about it, it's so much easier. It really was therapeutic, I think, for her.
Yeah, it was. I had never met anybody with the syndrome before I came out with it because it's 1 in 4,000 women. So it was pretty incredible to do that.
Coming into this, I told Jaclyn I thought that I was going to have to downplay my athleticism. Being a starting Division I linebacker, like, I thought I was going to be the athletic threat. And as soon as I walk here and I see all these athletes, and this guy who's twice the size of me, looks like he's in the NFL, this sprinter who looks like he's 10 times more athletic than me, I was like, yes! My best strength for Survivor is also a big thing that I need to monitor because it could bite me very hard. And that's that I'm very likable. I have a very childlike youthfulness to me.
Very lighthearted.
John and Jaclyn are an interesting couple to me because I believe that John is glad he's playing against Jaclyn because it releases the burden of having to take care of her. You know, when you're in a relationship, you look out for each other. And in a game like Survivor, you really need somebody to look out for you. But if you get separated by the game, hey baby, sorry, they put you on the other tribe, then you can just go full steam ahead. I think Jaclyn is in trouble. She's not one that I think is gonna last long. She'll hate me for saying this. I hope I'm wrong. Going into it, I think she's gonna get bowled over by some other people. I think they're just gonna run over her, and there'll be a stronger alliance of people who have a bigger mouth and are willing to talk faster and act more quickly. And I think Jaclyn will need to move very fast to have a shot in this game.
I definitely think that we're perceived as maybe this all-American couple that maybe doesn't have any flaws or something stereotypical like that, just by outside appearances. But I think that once people get to know us, they'll see that we're real and relatable.
If it is possible for us to work together after the merge without endangering our plans and like saying, okay, let's try this, but you know, it's really risky. I'm gonna win.
I'm gonna win.
You're dreaming, babe.
Later, we go behind the scenes as these loved ones go head-to-head in the first immunity battle of the season. And up next, meet the Broadway boyfriends who were first cast as individual players.
We got on separately, essentially. They didn't even know we were together initially.
Plus, what fireworks will this controversial former major leaguer bring to the game?
If people, do know me, of course they'll bring some of the, some of those possible stereotypes about me.
He's made some controversial statements, which he'll talk about openly.
Survivor San Juan del Sur Blood vs. Water preview will be right back. Welcome back to Survivor San Juan del Sur Blood vs. Water preview.
I'm Julie.
I'm John, and we are a boyfriend and girlfriend.
Fans of baseball will recognize left-hand pitcher John Rocker.
I played for the Atlanta Braves, Cleveland Indians, Texas Rangers, and Tampa Bay Rays for Major League Baseball for a number of years. Well, after retirement, did some real estate, dabbling in real estate investing and whatnot. A few years ago, I started a not-for-profit for homeless veterans.
Rocker became a household name in December 1999 when he gave an interview to Sports Illustrated that was laced with racism and bigotry.
If anybody knows his history, he's made some controversial statements, which he'll talk about openly. If somebody brings that baggage into the game from his personal life and says, I don't like what you had to say, or I don't like what you say you stand for, that can cost you.
I'm pretty sure when I get out there, I'll find out, if someone wants to call me out, whatever. If they do, I'll own up and, make the best of that situation, whatever it brings.
I think those are huge obstacles to get over, but I think that's why John took it. I think he likes the challenge and knows that I have more obstacles than the other guys coming in. That's okay. Let's see how I do.
If people, do know me, of course, they'll bring some of the, some of those possible stereotypes about me. I'm not an egotistical, airbag kind of thing. Yeah, and just trying to dispel some of those things right off the bat.
He's clearly strong. So to get rid of him early would seem to be a giant mistake in challenges. So I think he's got a few weeks to integrate, and maybe he can get an alliance going.
John's girlfriend, Julie, owns her own spray tanning company.
They wanted him originally and then decided to go a different direction with the show, and then came back 6 months later and said, we still want you on. Does your girlfriend want to interview too? So that's how we're here. My best strength is going to be making friends really quickly. With my business, I'm every day having to make people immediately feel comfortable around me and trust me because they have to strip down and get naked.
I think Julie's biggest thing is going to be to integrate quickly and show people I'm not a pretty girl who's afraid to get dirty. I'm a player. I'll do what it takes to help this tribe. Otherwise, she's gone. And if she complains, she's gone. And there's plenty to complain about on Survivor.
It's definitely going to make our dynamic interesting. It'll be a little bit different twist for us. Just have to make good game time decisions, to use kind of a baseball cliche, and hopefully get through to the end. I would never vote her out.
I don't want to look like the bad person and say, yeah, if it was the opportunity to move myself along.
She'd send me packing.
But I think I will. Not because I don't love him dearly, but in this game, I want to get as far as I can.
Guessing like a challenge to me.
I'm Josh, and this is my boyfriend.
Reid. We're performers by trade. Broadway shows, we're musical theater. That's what we do, but we're Survivor fans at heart.
They're an interesting couple. They're a gay couple, Christians, saving themselves, adored by their church. Not all of these elements typically go together, but they make them go together, and you like them because of it.
I come from a fairly conservative family who, my dad's a pastor. I grew up traveling
all of his
the
brothers
country.
Are pastors.
All my brothers are currently pastors except one, but I had a different idea for what I felt that the Lord was saying for me to do.
The fact that we can share this experience together is incredible, because just for one person to get on, we have 20,000 people every season applying. We got on separately, essentially. They didn't even know we were together initially.
Survivor has played a huge role in the relationship of these Broadway boys.
I wasn't a fan to start with. He was, because I'd never seen Survivor.
We were dating, and I said one night, I was like, why don't you come over, we'll watch Survivor. And he straight up looked at me and was like, is that show still on? And I was like, yes, the show is still on. I was like, you need to come over immediately. We're going to watch this. And so it's kind of something that's been a part of our relationship as our relationship has developed.
They're a force as a pair. And separated, I don't know.
I think it's best if we're apart because we won't look as much of a threat, because they would be like, oh my gosh, Reid and Josh, everyone likes them and everyone is with them and whatever, that's a problem. But when there's just one,
hopefully we can sneak in
you can
on both
kind
sides.
of, yeah.
Divide and conquer. Exactly.
The biggest concern I would have for Josh is that if I let you get very far, you have a really good story, and you're a super likable guy, and as much as I like having you around, you may be the guy I blindside tomorrow. Reid has the same problem that Josh has. Ultimately, that's a very likable guy. And he's clearly athletic, so he's gonna help you in challenges, and if you let him get to the end game, he could kick your ass.
I think I'm a people person naturally in life. And I think it comes from just a general interest in getting to know people. I think people are so fascinating. So I think coming on a game like Survivor, it's about creating personal relationships.
I think both of those guys share the same problem. How do I convince these guys to keep me around when they know I could beat them in the end?
So many castaways have come back and said, I can't really explain this experience to my spouse or my sister or whoever. And it's like, it's something that we may not be having the exact same experience, but it's a communal experience that we can
talk about and share
and move forward with.
Yeah.
Great stories for the grandkids.
That's right. Exactly.
My name's Kelly, and this is my dad, Dale.
I'm a self-employed farmer. I was born and raised on the farm, still live there. Basically took over the farm from my dad, and that's where she was raised.
These days, Kelly is a marketing manager in Seattle, but she hopes her days on the farm help her on Survivor.
Growing up, I was outside all the time. We were never sitting in front of the television, you know, watching TV on a Sunday. We were outside feeding the cows or, you know, piling wood or gardening. So I definitely think that, you know, I'm used to being outdoors. So hopefully that helps me in this game.
Dale and Kelly come in with an interesting relationship, one that she loves to talk about and one that he really doesn't seem to enjoy discussing. Kelly's mom and dad separated when she was young, and Dale remarried. And the way Kelly tells it is, the stepmom had a big influence in her life. And at times she wanted the dad to step up a little more. They want to rebuild their relationship. They were separated for several years. They didn't talk. And I hope that this becomes a bonding experience that brings them closer and not one that separates them further.
It's exciting to do this with my dad. I think it's an experience that we will have forever.
I think Kelly is a wild card. If she plays socially the way I think she's capable, she could be really likable and clearly athletic, and I think her attractiveness could help her.
I think my biggest strength is just the social aspect of the game. You know, being in marketing and just being able to kind of work with different people and see different personalities and kind of, you know, mold myself to work with them.
What her strength is probably my weakness, and that's a social game. I don't mold myself to people on the farm. They mold themselves to my farm. And I don't interact with a lot of people on a daily basis. Almost everybody on this game so far this year is about 20 years younger than I am. Sometimes the people with the least amount of threat go the farthest because they hang you around, because I can always beat him in immunity challenge. I can always beat him there, so they hang you around just for a vote.
I think Dale is going to have a harder time than Kelly. I think he's going to get judged because of his age. Say what you want, on Survivor, if you're over 40, which would definitely include me, you're the old guy.
See, and I kind of think it could be a disadvantage being one of the older players, just depending who, you know, who bonds. So I think it's really important for him to bond with a couple people right away.
There's only one winner. We're both here for the money. After 39 days, I'll give her a hug and say sorry, but it was...
Well, I mean, let's be honest, it'll be me that's saying sorry to you, but it's okay.
It was me or you at the end of the day, and it had to be me first.
Still to come.
Favorite tribal council of all time.
Jeff Probst has seen 29 tribal councils. Find out why this one tops his list when we get an exclusive tour. There's more Survivor San Juan del Sur Blood vs. Water preview after the break. Welcome back to Survivor San Juan del Sur Blood vs. Water preview. This is Survivor's second time in the harsh jungles and hot beaches of Nicaragua. Back in 2010, the art department was inspired by 15th century conquistadors who conquered the shores. But this go-round, they're stepping even further back in time.
We are going very heavily Mayan as far as the influence goes. Big stone temples and ancient carvings and Mayan gods and the Mayan calendar and the glyphs and all the amazing fun visual stuff that you get to do. One thing that we're trying to do this season too is make everything look a little spooky. We're getting on the Mayan side of things, getting into that ritual, sacrificial, dark realm that they're kind of known for. So a lot of the props have a dark edge. There's a lot of skulls this season. The torches look sort of like these old ceramic urns or vases. This season, we're doing this whole huge stone arena. It's a big undertaking, from construction to sculpting and rendering to painting and then dressing. Tribal Council, it's basically a Mayan temple, but it's sort of a lost jungle ruin. We worked really hard to make it feel really old and like it was collapsing and that nature was taking back over.
Building these sets from scratch and making them look like they've been there for thousands of years is no simple task.
When we first start designing, we know, of course, everything is going to look really old and sort of like this lost world that's sort of been rediscovered. We actually have a pretty long process of framing the set out of wood, and we sculpt out of cement on top of that wood and make that look like rock. We also do a lot of foam carving. This season, we brought in a whole foam carving team just to make statues and rock walls and surfacing. You sort of have to make it to look new and then take chunks out of it and work it to look old. Then we still come back on the sets and throw rocks and dry leaves around. It actually takes longer to make it look old than if we could just slam together a new thing.
One of the art department's most masterful creations is the Tribal Council set, the one place the contestants are trying to avoid.
This is the Tribal Council for Survivor San Juan del Sur, Blood versus Water. Let me give you a tour. This is where the survivors sit when they're at Tribal Council. Usually we have wooden stumps. This time everything is brick, concrete, and it's because of the design of Tribal Council. It's based on the Mayan culture, but if you really look at some of the details, you would never think that this hadn't been here for thousands of years. Everything came from this area, the sand to make the concrete, all the vines that you see hanging around, all the plants. To build this took 6 weeks, almost 50 guys every day, local labor, building this from scratch. And my favorite part of Tribal Council, I've run out of superlatives. Take a look at this, baby. Look at that. This is a total work of art. I truly love these. It's why I will admit that I keep them. I have every single snuffer from every season. And then some of the other details that I think are really cool is the drawbridge, which gets you to where you vote. It's actually a giant mouth. You see teeth at the very top. Favorite Tribal Council of all time. This is the voting confessional. This is the big mouth that I was talking about that you walk through. And you come in here and got a nice little skull to remind you that death is about to happen. And the reason I like this area so much is that we discovered over the years how to position it. And that is, we have it far enough away that people really can't hear you unless you want them to, but they're over your shoulder, they're in the shot, so that while you are writing down somebody's name, there's a very good chance they're in the frame and they have no idea what you're doing. I'm gonna keep private for the moment. You probably sensed this was coming. TVGN, I'm voting you out, and here's why. You cheat on me. You cover Big Brother. You hang out with Julie Chen. I don't like that. I'm a one-on-one kind of thing. If you've got other people you think are interesting, you should spend more time with them. I'll find someone else.
Later, find out why this Boston firefighter sees his own wife as his biggest threat.
I didn't want to bring her.
And up next, meet the mother and daughter cheerleading duo who might already be thinking of teaming up with another pair.
I'm telling you, they seem like a blast, and like I could completely use them to my advantage with an alliance.
Plus, find out what former winner Parvati Shallow is doing on location in Nicaragua. There's more to come when Survivor San Juan del Sur Blood vs. Water preview returns. Welcome back to Survivor San Juan del Sur Blood vs. Water preview.
I'm Baylor.
And I'm Missy, and I'm her mom.
And I'm her daughter.
I'm a competitive cheerleading coach at home. I own my own competitive cheerleading gym. I wanted to teach at the local high school where I lived in Colorado, and they said you could coach for a year, get your foot in the door. It's like, coach what? And they said, cheerleading. I said, absolutely not, no way, not doing that. Can't deal with girls with bows in their hair. So anyway, long story short, I did it and fell in love with it and
haven't stopped since.
Naturally, Baylor caught the cheerleading bug early in life.
I've been cheering my entire life, so I will always consider myself a cheerleader. I was just following, what she was doing, and, was just Little Miss Coach's daughter, and, ever since, that's what I've been doing, so.
She was in a sports bra and Spanx at age 5.
Missy and Baylor are a really likable mother-daughter team.
I think that saying you're a competitive cheerleading coach, if people aren't really educated in it, they're not going to think it's too much of a threat. But
that's true.
They'll also think of me, oh, cool, well, maybe she can be the camaraderie leader and, help us with the kumbaya, which is exactly what I love to do. I think my social game is going to be unbelievable just because I don't know a stranger, I don't judge anyone. Most people tell me things that they would only write in their journal.
At 20, Baylor is the youngest castaway this season.
Baylor's big thing is going to be, I'm only 20. And 20-year-olds have a really tough time. It's rare to have a young person do well or win this game. And the ones that do are really sharp, they've had great life experience, and they know how to deal with people twice their age.
I definitely think that my age will factor into people's opinions about, whether or not I'm smart enough in this game. But that's something that I really am going to kind of play with, because I want them to think that, and I want them to think that I don't know what I'm doing and that I'm not strong enough and that I won't surpass other people.
I think it's going to be really interesting for Missy to see her daughter on her own. I don't think Baylor's going to worry about her mom at all. Daughters don't have to, but moms can't help it. The big struggle for Missy is going to be separating myself from my daughter's well-being and trying to find myself in this group.
How can a mom not worry about their kiddo? She's my flesh and blood, and I had her when I was so young and was a single mom for so long with just her that it's going to be tough, but I think, too, it's going to help me to push myself even harder, knowing that she's just around the corner.
Daughter Baylor has already set her sights on potential alliance mates.
Mainly, I'm really excited to talk with the Fabio brothers. I'm telling you, they seem like a blast, and like I could completely use them to my advantage with an alliance.
I'm Alec, and I'm the younger brother of Drew. Survivor's been a dream of mine to go on. I've always liked Bear Grylls and just Survivor Man and Man vs. Wild type things like that. I applied for it, and they called me. It didn't work out the first year, and then they called me the next year and said, hey, do you have anybody that you think would be great for the game? And I said, actually, I do. So I got my little brother involved, and here we sit.
Drew and Alec, I like a lot. I think they're going to be polarizing. I imagine that some of our audience will find them very cocky, and they think they know it all, and they swish their hair around and all of that.
And I'm really excited. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be here and to be able to survive and compete in the same game. Drew and I have been competing since as long as I've been able to compete. We've been competing. I've grown up, whipping his ass in pretty much every sport that he's ever done, and taught him a lot of things, and the fact that he actually can compete with me now and is actually better at some things than me now is nice to see. And we're gonna feed off of one another, I think. Me seeing Drew on the other tribe doing well is gonna be like, I need to turn up.
I think that the little brother might surprise his big brother. I think Drew thinks I'm the older one, I've got it figured out. But Alec, I don't know, I get a feeling that maybe he's stolen some of his brother's thunder recently, and that he's gaining on him in terms of the status.
They probably would think, oh, look at these pretty boys, they're good looking, they have long hair. I could definitely see them thinking that. I don't think they have a clue about what I do in my everyday life. They're gonna find out the real us pretty quick. We're not the pretty boys we look like.
But older brother Drew does feel like looks might get in the way of his game.
My biggest weakness would be the fact that people are going to kind of put me on a pedestal because I'm tall, athletic, good-looking, socially there, have a good mental feel for how the game works, and I think people are going to see that as a threat and probably not want to compete with me.
They're young kids. They're trying to figure out who they are. They've got a healthy competition with each other. They think they can score every woman and conquer every challenge. And that's what a 20-something should feel.
Winner and three-time player Parvati Shallow visited the first Blood vs. Water season as host for TVGN. This time, she's back again.
I'm here on location in Nicaragua for Survivor San Juan del Sur, working with CBS as a member of the press. As a member of the press here on this location, I have just run a challenge. I interviewed all the contestants, got to know them a little bit, visited their Ponderosa, so I saw what they're working with, who's going to be sizing up who's going to do well in the game, who I don't think is going to do that well. Talked to Jeff about his take on all the contestants, what he thinks, and compared notes a little bit. There could be some heat there. And I got to watch the marooning, so I got to watch the tribe's first competition between Blood versus Water, and a couple of people got sent to exile, so that's always exciting. There were some tears, there was some laughter and cheering. There's a lot of emotion and a lot of excitement from this crowd, so I think it'll be a really fun cast.
After meeting with the pairs, this former Survivor champ has strong feelings on the competitors.
My favorites in the cast, I'm totally biased because I love the Broadway boys, Josh and Reid. They're by far my favorite. They're so full of life. They're so excited to be here. They both applied individually to get on the game and then were called together because it was a Blood versus Water season. So I just think this is fate for them to be out here. I like the Sri Lankan twins, Natalie and Nadiya, who've been on The Amazing Race. They have no filter, they're hilarious, and I think will make for some very interesting conversations at Tribal Council.
And speaking of Tribal Council, Parvati will start a few conversations of her own there with Jeff Probst.
I'll be heading over to Tribal Council for their first vote.
I don't think anybody debates that you're pretty good at challenges.
This is my second time coming on location as a member of the press, and I gotta say, it's a whole different world. It's actually really fun for me to have this comprehensive look on Survivor. I've been a contestant many times, and now as a member of the press, I get to watch more of the behind the scenes with production and get to know people who have been working on this show since the beginning. So it's really cool to put a name to the face.
Later, we've got your first look as the tribes face off in a grueling immunity challenge.
It is going to kick their butts.
But up next, meet the 3 firefighters who will compete this season, including this father and son.
Ever since I was little, I wanted to be like him, you know.
Plus, find out what this police officer plans to keep hidden.
I will keep it under wraps. I think that will be better for my game in the long run.
Survivor San Juan del Sur Blood vs. Water preview will be right back. Welcome back to Survivor San Juan del Sur Blood vs. Water preview.
I am Val Collins, and I am Jeremy's wife.
My name is Jeremy Collins, and this is my wife.
Back home, Jeremy is a firefighter and Val is a police officer, but they are split on revealing their jobs to the tribe.
I'm going to share my career with everybody. I feel like everybody loves firefighters, so I'm gonna tell everybody.
I will not be telling anybody what I do. I will keep it under wraps. I think that will be better for my game in the long run.
I like Val and Jeremy as a couple, and I like them as individual players too.
I've been a fan of the show since it first started, and for the last 10 years, I started applying for it.
Jeremy is really social. He's a likable guy. We spent a lot of time getting to know him. And he works as a fireman where that whole profession is about camaraderie and getting along. You spend a lot of time with those guys in the firehouse waiting to go be a hero.
I think physically, I'm going to be able to go up against anybody in the challenges. I feel socially I can get along with anybody. Bringing her in, now I have to worry about how she's doing. I shouldn't have to because she's tough and I know she can handle it out there. But that's just, as a husband, that's how I feel towards my wife, you know?
I just feel like this is a game that I was meant to play, and to play it with him and to be able to compete against him as a police officer and a firefighter couldn't be more perfect. I go to the gym regularly, I've ran some marathons, I've run half marathons, but physically I don't necessarily give off that persona. So I think the squeaky voice, the not so slim physique as comparison to a lot of the other girls that are here is gonna give the impression that I might not be as on my game. So being underestimated, I think, is gonna be a strength for me.
I think Val is a legitimate threat to win the game if she can get into an alliance out of the gate. She's got a keen eye, which is something we've seen from cops before. They spend their time observing people.
The couple had to leave their 2 young daughters home to compete on Survivor.
With both of us gone, especially her, like it's gonna be really tough for them. So that was really hard for me.
It's tough, but I think that my kids will be really proud of what we're doing. And I think as a woman with daughters, seeing me as a police officer and seeing me go through this, I really hope that I show them an example that you can do anything as a woman and that you really can push your limits and you're stronger than you think.
I know she could beat me in this game.
She's very much seems to be in control. And Jeremy says, yeah, it's like this all day, every day.
Once I win the $1 million, I want to buy her a house. And I want to
What's his is mine, what's mine is mine.
I'm Wesley, and this is...
I'm Keith. We're father-son.
And we're both firefighters. I'm a firefighter. I got 2 years on the job, and...
I'm a fire captain, and I got 29, so I'm about done, and he's just now starting. But I was real proud when he got on a couple of years ago, went through the basic training, got all the little certificates and everything. Yeah, I mean, it's a great job. Wouldn't do anything else.
Some kids don't have dads, you know. I grew up doing everything with him, and I mean, I always wanted to be like him.
Wes has also wanted to be on Survivor since he was a kid.
I've been a Survivor fan because, I don't know, ever since that first season I've watched and I was like, man, this looks like fun. Like, I could do that show. I was only 9 then, so I was still thinking in my head I could do that once I get older.
Fast forward, yeah.
And
here we are. Yeah.
In Nicaragua, about to play.
He called me 2 months ago and he said, guess what, Survivor just called. I said, you're full of it.
I love Keith and Wes. I love them. I love the way they sound. I love the way they look. I love the way they talk, how openly they talk.
The pair are very open about what will happen if they have to vote one another out.
If it's to better myself in the game, I'm gonna do it and not think twice about it. You know, hey, we gotta get your dad off. It's 5 votes left and boom. I was like, hey, that's no problem, I can do that. And he's the same way. Hey, we gotta get Wes off. Wes, done. Sent.
I would look at Keith, if I didn't know anything about him, and think, you are dead in this game. But the minute he opens his mouth and you start to talk to him, you think, I like you a lot. I want to keep you around. And then you start to realize, oh, I forgot. Guys over 40 actually know something. This guy might actually be able to help me instead of just getting rid of him.
I know I don't look like Mr. Athlete, and he really doesn't either. Just kind of thinks he does, but he doesn't. He really doesn't.
I really do.
I think Wes's biggest struggle is going to be he tends to hang out in his life with people like him. He's young, he lives in Louisiana, and Survivor's about taking a cross-section and shoving them together, and now how well can you adapt? Wes is going to have to be able to quickly learn how to read people and know that one guy might need a handshake, the other wants to talk eye to eye, and figure that out. And if he can do that, he'll do well.
And if either father or son wins the game, they've got plans for that $1 million.
That would help.
That would help.
Sure would help. Get him out of the house.
Yeah.
Still to come.
Ready. Go!
Stick around. Survivor San Juan del Sur Blood vs. Water preview will be right back. Welcome back to Survivor San Juan del Sur Blood vs. Water preview. Every season, the press steps into the Survivor's shoes to experience an exciting challenge which the real contestants will face on the show. But this season, it was more than just fun and games.
This time, they got to help us develop it because we did what we call a test rehearse. It's the first time Jeff had seen this challenge. It's the first time the camera guys and our director had seen it.
Survivor's ready. Go!
The challenge was called Parallel Universe, and it was a lot harder than it looked.
Gotta go back to the start. Parvati's gotta go back to the start.
What they do is they have to race through an obstacle course carrying a pole with a wooden disc on it. On that wooden disc is a billiard ball, which rolls around pretty easily. They have to get that billiard ball through all the obstacles, and then dump it off at the other end, where they'll then use 3 billiard balls to roll up a alley and land the 3 balls into 3 different divots.
So did the press's performance affect the design of the game?
It wasn't changed dramatically, but there were some significant tweaks that watching you guys run it really helped us figure out how to make it better.
We were also on hand to give you a sneak peek of the first immunity challenge for Survivor San Juan del Sur Blood vs. Water.
Our first immunity challenge this season is called the Temple of Searings, a ode to one of my favorite rock bands, Rush. It's a huge tower.
Go!
On Go, they race under like a crawl under net. Once they get to the end, the players have to get on each other's shoulders to get up and untie those bags. In one of the bags is what we call a monkey's fist. It's a long rope with a big knot on the end, and so one of the stronger players, I reckon, would have to use that rope, wind it up, and throw it up into a rope catch. Once they get it, they all go up Batman style, crawling up Batman style. From the 3rd level, they still have another 15-foot ramp to get up, and this time they have nothing except for themselves, so they have to make human ladders. And then at the top, we have our first puzzle made out of stone. Each piece weighs about 50 pounds. So not only is it difficult, it is gonna kick their butts.
That's all for Survivor San Juan del Sur Blood vs. Water preview. To find out which castaway comes out on top, tune in to Survivor every Wednesday on CBS. Want to stay close to your favorite stars? Be sure to like TVGN on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Thanks for watching.